hard to pinpoint the first time I was picked on because it happened so much I lost count.
Before we start, I just want to thank you for opening up on such a topic such as this, being bullied, self-conscious. These are things that really can bond people together, but they can also drive people to drastic measures. So if sharing your story could prevent just, one person from taking action against their own life, your story was worth it.
No, it's a pleasure to be here. I've said before that I've watched every show, and it's amazing what you guys do, and I respect everything you guys do. So I wanted to come on here just because I wanted to get my story out, and hopefully it'll help other people who go through what I went through. I've seen every episode, so I know there's a lot of people that are worse off than what I went through, but just the bullying and the name calling and can affect a lot more than people think. So if I can help anybody, then I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to be here.
Every person's story is important, and yours is just as important as everyone else's. So kind of just jump right in. If you could tell us a little bit about, what it was like for you as a kid and your childhood growing up.
I actually had a great childhood. I was skinny, and no, I had a good childhood. I had a great family. Still do. Have great parents, great brother, great sister. I was the youngest of four, so my dad is an amazing basketball coach, still is. Speedy Morrison, the Philadelphia area, so legendary. And I was never like an athlete, I was kind of the kid who was always goofy, always in my own world. Played with like my WWF figures in the corner, and they were just like, Chris is all right, he's in the corner playing. But it was kind of when I went to school where I kind of, all that stuff started with the name calling and stuff, and I wasn't the brightest, I never felt like I was a bright kid or anything like that, and kind of was mocked a lot for that, for being not, quote unquote smart, and I can pinpoint one the first time it happened. It was actually from an adult, a nun who was kind of had me at the board doing a math problem. It was a fairly easy problem, and the whole class was watching. And as I'm trying to figure this problem out, which I wasn't even figuring the problem out, because in my head I was frozen because I just heard everyone mocking me and making fun of me. And lunchtime came, she made me stay there. The next class came in, they made fun of me. So it was kind of, it happened a lot in that particular time frame. Not saying I didn't have friends. I did have friends, and I was goofing off a lot and had fun with some good teachers. But I was just that awkward kid that didn't know where he belonged kind of thing, which I still kind of feel at times. That's kind of, like I said, I was lucky enough to have the childhood at home that I had. But when I left home going to school, you're kind of not shielded anymore. You're going out into, kids can be cruel, and that's kind of what it was like in grade school. And then in high school too.
While growing up, being made fun of, did you develop any type of coping mechanism or, ways to get out of it?
Yeah. When the first time I can really remember, and I guess I was doing it all through grade school, but my dad had a basketball camp, and I would go every year, and I was not good at all by any means. So I was always the last picked, and it wasn't the thing where like, we'll take him. I was like, oh God, we got to get him. Come on, let's go, And as a kid, you hear that every time. It's like, wow, that's pretty awful. But so I remember one year at camp I was going, and I was just so sick of being kind of made fun of. I was also the coach's son, so I had players making fun of me. I had, camp people making fun of me. So I just had enough, and I just said to myself, I'm going to make fun of myself before they can make fun of me. So every year when I went that one year, and that's what I did. I would do jokes about myself, self-deprecating stuff, which wound up becoming a little bit of what I came to do later on. But at the same time, it did stop. It stopped it, but the hurt was still there. So it was like I was doing it as a self-defense thing, but at the same time, I didn't realize it was still affecting my self-esteem.
So now you've found your coping mechanism of, laughter, basically, which ironically ended up being something you took with you throughout the rest of your life. When was the turning point that you realized that, comedy was, really your thing?
Well, it was, I started doing shows when I was about 17, but when I graduated 8th grade, I went into high school, and I was very nervous because I had friends in grade school, but I was going to face a whole new group of kids, larger kids, a lot more kids in this new environment, and it didn't get any better. For like 3 years, I was, the old thing where you see on like TV where they empty the book back out. I was so nervous I wouldn't remember like my locker code, so I carried all my books in this giant bag, and an upperclassman like dumped it out, that kind of thing. One study hall, I'm sitting there, and this kid's saying stuff behind me, and I just said I'll ignore him and let that go, and it worked. But then I realized he spent the rest of the study hall spitting on me, on my back, on my school bag, and I never told anybody because I thought that I was the reason. I kind of thought that I was a loser. I deserve. I don't know. I thought like if I told some people they'd laugh too, so I just kept it to myself, and but all along was weird. So I get on the bus to go home, and I still have these friends, and I just open up to them, and I'd be funny with them. But then in school, I was always quiet. Until senior year, I went on this retreat, and a priest friend, Father Redkay, who ran the retreat, I was doing an impression because I would do Rodney, Chris Farley was my idol, and then all these people. And I was doing the impression, and the priest had turned around, I looked, and the whole retreat was there. And then I just did, my show for the retreat, and they loved it. And after that whole senior year, I was cool with everybody. I did 2 shows for the whole school, and it turned out the comedy was helping me kind of achieve friendship. Mm-hmm. And it was still there, but it's still, like I said, the effects I didn't realize too much later. But it got me through senior year, and I was in the play and had a great senior year. So
it's interesting to hear you talk about the effects of your security with adults growing up, because hearing you talk about the issues of your insecurities with adults from when you were younger, it just shows that it carried with you throughout your life, mm-hmm. not wanting to tell a teacher when someone was making fun of you because you were worried that they would be, in on it as well.
Yeah, and it was, to this day, my mom gets upset. She always says, I don't know why you didn't tell me, because I did. I had the greatest support system at home, too. And I should have, that's a big message that I want to tell people. You know what I mean? If you're being bullied, if somebody's threatening you or making you feel less than you are, there's no harm in telling people. One of the biggest words I hate is snitch and tattletale. Like when I see a teacher say, I'll stop being a tattletale. Because that demeans that kid. That demeans what that kid's trying to tell you how he feels. And that's why kids are afraid to say something, because they're afraid they're going to be called that. I should have said something to my parents. I should have said something to my brothers, my sister, because I knew they would have all been there for me. But I felt like I was the burden, so I just didn't say anything.
Off screen we talked about, you going into college and how instantaneously it was almost like you felt finally you could be yourself. Do you think that it had to do with the comedy?
Had to do with Miller Lite. No, no, I'm only teasing. No, I'll tell you what it had to do with. I was rooming with a kid from high school that I was still cool with, but we weren't best of friends. But I was cool with him, and I was still very nervous because now I was going, like I said, when I went to high school from grade school to high school, it was a new group of kids. Now I'm going from high school to college, and now it's different because it's a new group of kids, but you can't leave there. You live with these people. Mm-hmm. So now my thing is, well, how am I going to deal with this living there? I can't escape home to where I feel loved and everything like that. And I remember it was one of the first nights there, by the first week, because I was really nervous. I went home most of the weekends. I didn't really stay around, but the first week or two, I think, we were moving in, and my door was open, and there was a kid across the hall whose name was Pete Mostello, shout out to you. And he was still a buddy today. I don't see him a lot, but he's still a good friend. But he kind of was like, hey, what's up? And I was like, hey, and he called me over to the room, and we sat there, and it was probably the first time in my life that I felt, and I've actually told him this, that somebody just accepted me. No, do a joke, no, he didn't even know I was a comedian at the time. So it felt like really, really good to just have somebody not know me and just call me over and really help me to, see that somebody cares for me as just me, as a person, or just meeting me or something like that. So after that, I had a great group of college kids, core group of college kids. But the insecurities were still there because then it became with girls. You know what I mean? I was never, felt I was good enough kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I love that you brought up the exact situation with your friend Pete, because I think that there's so many times that people don't realize the impact that they have on someone else by just doing something so simple and small like that, just making conversation, and that's not really asking too much, just to say hello and be nice to someone. So
it made a big difference on me. And then I wound up having a great core group of friends at LaSalle, and my buddy Joe and Drew, and they were all just great people, and I still talk to them. So they made a lasting impression, and they were there for me during some very tough times in college.
Let's hold off on a couple more stories. We'll use that for the podcast, as you know.
Right.
But I do have a question. Did you continue to do stand-up throughout college?
Yeah. I continued to do it up until recently. I still did stand-up, and it became something that I just loved. I've always loved it since I was 8 years old. I always wanted to be a comedian and an actor, and so that was always my goal in life. But which is crazy, because you spend your childhood getting rejected and getting made fun of, and you choose a business where you get rejected all the time. Like, that's the whole. It just comes full circle, and you get. It's something that, but it's also something that's helped me cope. It helped me. It's helped me through some really, really rough times to be able to get up on stage and do that, do that kind of humor, and people still come up to me or have me like, oh my God, you shouldn't say that about yourself. And it's funny, it doesn't hurt like it did when I was a kid. Like, I'll go up and say, I'll do a joke about me being heavy or being with girls, and to me it's just an act now. But back, it doesn't really resonate deeply because it's my act, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Off stage, when it happens and it's real, then that's when it really resonates with me. But I still continue to do acting in comedy whenever I can.
Through the whole process, there has to be, some type of learning curve that you go through to, disassociate what you were feeling as a child and what you were feeling as an adult, because, those things are still there and they're still constantly happening. We talk about now you're 39 years old and you still battle these things daily. If you could kind of talk about, what it was like and what the difference was between now and then, and how you process them differently.
I think you grow. The difference between performing and it going on in real life, we'll talk about that first, but the performing to me is a positive thing, because I think I look at that as, through what I went through, I'm able to make people laugh about it and laugh about life, and maybe help them not feel as bad about their life if they're going through the same things, and put a comedy spin on it. So I look at that as I'm making them laugh, and that's a big thing to me. I like to make people laugh. So, but when it happens, when the laughter stops and you're alone, and you think about it, or somebody says something to you, you're still kind of retreat into that little kid that's alone and scared and lonely and that kind of thing, which I battle, daily. Some days are better than others, I think, but and you try and stay on that positive side as much as you can, which I have, thank God, luckily. But 2014-15, I think, came to a head. I had just got a new job and I was thinking a lot, and I was really on a downward spiral, just a lot of dark thoughts. And being an actor, comedian, you write dark things. I was writing dark things. I was like writing dark short films and just trying to cope that way. And I remember I was playing, this is part of the comical part, I was playing for the summer I was doing a mascot bird in a water park. That was my job. And I remember I had to take Greyhound back and forth. And I was just really more and more miserable every day. And one day after work, I remember sitting behind the train station and or the bus station, and just crying because I was contemplating how I would end it all. And that was probably the lowest point of my life ever, because I was literally never thought I'd get to the point of thinking how I would do it. And I don't know where I found it. I wish I could find it today. I don't know, but it was a thing on YouTube that was a guy talking you out of committing suicide. And immediately, thank God I had glasses on and a hat, because I was like a mess, and I kept thinking about my nieces, my nephews, my parents, and them coming to a funeral, and it kind of, I went home that night, went to bed, but I was just like, never again do I ever want to be there. And I kind of sought therapy, and through that therapy and through that therapist, she gave me ways to cope and get through all that, and I'm thankful to God for her. But I think that it's still you still battle every day, and I still battle every day. But now I know how to cope with it, and I know how to get through it, and it's made me a happier me. It's made me be able to do this. I told you guys off camera that a few years ago I wouldn't be able to do this, but I'm okay with everything I've been through. I'm really okay with it, and I think that's the point. You get okay with it. You live to fight another day. You just got to keep on going.
We always appreciate when people bring up therapy that come on here, just to make it more known. I mean, there's not enough times that we can say therapy's okay. There's this stigma behind it that people think that, you're this troubled person. You're not a real person if you go to therapy. And all of us here, we actively support people seeking therapy. So thank you for bringing that up. With time running out, we do always like to end our segment with our guest, giving a word of advice, either for someone going through something you had went through, or maybe even someone on the other side of it. So if you could just say some final words. A big part of why I like this show is that, you see people who go through things and they come out of the other side and they're okay and everything's fine, and they tell you can do it too, and that's all fine and dandy, but they've come through it. You haven't. So I think it's very important to know that I'm still going through this. I'm still, and I think this might be a lifetime. There's going to be times I feel like worthless, times I feel useless or whatever, but I know that there's going to be another day. I know that I have people that care about me, and that's very important to know that no matter what, you do have people that care about you. If you're a kid, another piece of advice I'm going to ask you: if you're a kid and you're being bullied, please say something. Do not hold it in. You have every right to say something. And if you're a teacher, if you're and someone comes to you, please don't call them a snitch or a tattletale or dismiss them or dismiss what they're saying, because it's not right. And I think you're part of the problem if that's what you're doing. Even me, I'm going to ask for the haters to put my email at the bottom of this. And if anyone ever feels that they need to talk or they need to get something off their chest, so please email me, and because I know I care, because I know I went through it. So just hang in, and I know that it's a cliche thing to say, but live to fight another day. I'm living proof that you can live with it, and you can have great days, and you can live your life, and with your great family and great friends. So love for the haters, and love you all. There you go, for the haters. Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, for taking the time coming out here, opening up to us. It's really something to hear about. You wouldn't have been here a year ago speaking to this, and just to see how much you've grown, and you opening up is really powerful and meaningful to us all. So thank you.
Thank you. Love you back. Love you guys.
Most of us have been on both sides of bullying. Sometimes we're the ones telling the jokes, and sometimes we're on the other side being the butt of the joke. It hurts deeply and could have lasting effects on our perception of ourselves. Chris is an exact example of this. So our call to action is for everyone to take a step back before they say something that could affect another person permanently. And for those of you that are battling insecurities, know that what people think of you doesn't have to define you. You get to decide that, and no one else.
For the haters, come on, do it now or later. Whoa, yeah. It don't matter what your name is, share your story, we'll be waiting. Go.